You must. Do you know Chris? Chris Woodard, the new manager with the Rangers? I mean, I know his name, but I don't know him personally.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mandalay Bay Convention Center. Thank you for joining us. Last Thursday evening, the Boston Red Sox announced the signing of right-handed pitcher Nathan Eovaldi to a 4-year contract through the 2022 season. In a moment, you'll have the opportunity to ask questions of Nathan Eovaldi, President of Baseball Operations Dave Dombrowski, and Red Sox manager Alex CORA. But first, I'd like to turn it over to Dave Dombrowski to say a few words.
Thank you, Abby. Thanks for everybody for being here. We're very thrilled to have Nate back with the organization. He did a tremendous job for us last season, joined us during the regular season and a stalwart postseason. For us, it was really a focus if we could bring Nate back, and fortunately it worked out. I'd like to thank our ownership group with John Henry and Tom Werner, Mike Gordon, for their support to make this happen. As always, the dedication to win and put the best club on the field that we can. To really the person who did the majority of this work for our organization, which is Brian O'Halloran. He did all this work, and a special thanks to the Levinson brothers, Sam and Seth, who he stayed in contact with, and the rest of their group, that they made this happen. And most of all, for Nate for accepting our offer. So we're very happy to have you back, and thrilled to look forward to having him part of our organization heading into the next spring training.
We can now start with questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand and wait for the microphone, and state your name and affiliation.
Jason Mastronado with the Boston Herald. Dave, how important was it to you to kind of keep this group together now that you have Steve and Nate from the team that won it all?
Well, you're trying to keep as many members of the club together as you possibly can. However, we won 108 games, had a good ball club during the regular season, and played very well in the postseason. However, we've said numerous times that it's very difficult to do in today's game and with the rules and free agency. So I think Nate bringing him back was very important for us. So making that happen, but again, I don't know that it's going to be possible to do with everybody on a regular basis.
Ian Brown, MLB.com. Nate, just after everything you've been through in your career, injuries, how good does this feel just to get a contract like this, just after some of the things you've been through?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely amazing. Everything that I've worked for and had to come back from. It's nice to know that the hard work paid off, and for it to be with the Red Sox, it couldn't be a better organization.
TC in the back, and then Pete.
Tom Karen from Nesson. Nathan, last week the DVD was premiered, and the fans were kind of all going crazy whenever you showed up, and people yelling, "Sign Nathan, bring him back." Did you hear about that, and what does it mean when you hear that about the fan base?
Yeah, AC called me right after the showing, and Brock got on the mic or on the phone and was talking to me about it, and I mean, just to hear that reaction from the fans, I mean, everything that I was able to do in the postseason, and then when I was traded over, super excited to be able to come back and join the Red Sox and be here for another 4 years. The free agency is something I haven't ever experienced before. So I was trying to put my family first, and trying to see what other options were out there for me. And the Red Sox, they came in hot with their offer, and we were extremely happy. And my wife, my family, everybody, they all enjoyed that experience so much, and everything that the Red Sox were able to do for me, and not only me, but they took care of my family really well. There were a couple incidences last year, and they stepped up big for us, and we're just real excited to be able to come back and be a part of that. And again, that rotation that we have, it's unbelievable, the pitching staff, and the relationship that I made with all those guys for just that short period of time. I'm definitely looking forward to coming back and playing with them.
Hi, Nathan, Dan Roach from WBZ. Just how important was that relationship to you, and also how many other teams were interested in you, and there's perhaps stories out there that you might have turned down even more money from other teams.
Yeah, I mean, there were other teams out there that were interested for sure, but again, out of respect to those teams, I don't want to name anybody in particular, but there were other offers. But again, the Red Sox, they came in with the best one, and the relationship that I had over there and all that experience that I had gained, and I feel like as a player, you always want to have the love and support from your teammates, and not only them, but from the fans. And I felt like I was able to achieve that last year with the postseason run, and I want to come back and experience that again, and hopefully be able to be a part of history again and come back and win another World Series.
Nathan, Sean McAdam, Boston Sports Journal. Just wondering the outpouring of emotion that you got after Game 3 from your teammates, before the parade. Lots of guys saying that you needed to come back and how important it was to have you back. How big a factor was that emotion and welcoming from teammates, fans, the region in your decision making?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was a big part of it. Again, like I said, you always want to have that love and support from your fans and your teammates, and the love and support that they were showing me throughout the whole series, and especially after that Game 3. I mean, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it, and it's it's definitely a special moment and dear to my heart. And I want to come back and be a part of that again.
We have Nick in the back.
Okay. Nathan, Nick Cafardo with the Boston Globe. Was it very important to you to stay being a starter? I know there was some reports about teams wanting you as a closer. Was being a starter the most important thing to you?
Yeah, I mean, I view myself as a starter, and that's something that I've always done my entire career, and I enjoy doing that. So, if I had that choice, I still wanted to be a starter. So, I mean, yeah.
Right here in the front.
Hey, Nathan, Ron Blum from AP. Did some of the teams that contacted you tell you that they were interested in you out of the bullpen? Mm-hmm. And for Dave and Alex, did your evaluation of Nathan change at all with the Game 3 performance?
Yeah, I had a couple of, there were a lot of teams that reached out. I had a few that wanted me to be a closer, and then other guys who wanted me to come out of the bullpen, and then others wanted to try and do part-time to, save my arm. So.
I mean, we go back to that game, obviously, and what he did was amazing. I keep saying, for me personally, that was like the biggest moment of the World Series. For him to compete at that level, the conversations in between innings, they were cool, and I still remember the last one. When I asked him, "Hey, how you feel?" and he's like, "Let me finish it." And he said that with a lot of conviction, and I knew he was good. When he came in, he bought into the concept. Throughout the regular season, we made some adjustments as far as like usage and the way he was attacking hitters, and I can't wait to see him again with us. He's going to be a huge part of this rotation, and he's a workaholic. He goes to the weight room, he prepares, training room, same deal. He studies, and 4 years of Nathan, that's going to be great for the organization.
For Dave and Alex, we use the expression gamer a lot, and calling a guy a ball player is maybe the greatest compliment you can make. I know you hope you have a room full of those guys. But what's the difference when you actually see it playing out, that you have a couple of guys that do stuff like that?
Well, sometimes it's a difference between winning and losing. I mean, when you have guys that will go that extra mile for you, you never want to put them in harm's way. There's constantly checking with Alex and our medical staff. But when the players put forward that extra step, that gamer, that can make the difference. Because a lot of talent's in the game. We have a lot of talent in our organization. But I think one of the differences in winning ultimately ended up being the type of makeup of individuals that we had on the team.
I mean, one thing for sure, and the last month and a half, the topic has been about their usage in October, but they were prepared. I mean, we took care of them in the regular season, and they knew going into October that the usage was going to be a little bit different. The difference is that they were willing to do it too. I mean, he walked into that breakfast room the next day after Game 3, and he said he was ready for it that night. It's not that I was going to use him, of course. You know, I'm not that stupid, but you know, the willingness for all of them, you know, to go out there and perform, and knowing that they were going to be healthy and do it at the highest level. If that's been a gamer, well, we got a bunch of them.
Dave, with some of the questions that exist about your rotation going forward, contract status after 2019, you know, being an uncertainty for guys like Sale and Porcello, how significant was it to add Nate and to have him kind of part of the vision of the rotation going beyond next season?
Well, I think it's part of the equation, very important. We know that there's a lot of question marks about long-term contractual status of part of the members of our club. It's going to be a juggling act over the next few years. Again, we know we're not going to be able to sign everybody, but the more stability that's out there, the better off we are. And right now we're in a spot where we hope to keep everybody. It won't happen due to the rules, due to some of their interests, some of the contract offers they receive in other places. But having the possibility of having Nate and being in a position where you have a couple other guys, and you know, with David Price and with Eduardo, you've got at least 3 members as you go forward, and we hope that we have 5 of them.
Hey, Dave, Barry Bloom from Forbes. Just a question in that vein. How much space do you still have to try and re-sign Kimbrel? And if you don't, what's the backup plan?
Well, we'll see about the financial aspect of it. You know, our payroll's significant at this point, so we'll see what takes place. But if we don't make any outside acquisitions, we do feel we have some internal choices with guys like Ryan Brazier, Matt Barnes, a couple of guys that we think can step forward. Not necessarily it'll be a closer, but with this type with signing Nate back, now we can move Stephen Wright into our bullpen too. So we do have some options out there.
Alex, Chad Jennings from The Athletic. Alex, last year you came into spring training with thoughts about how to keep a rotation healthy and rested. I wonder, through the course of the season, did you learn anything more about how tricky that process is? I mean, Nathan talked about some teams approaching him about bullpen just for health concerns, about ways to keep him rested and keep him viable through the year. Yeah,
I mean, we have a pretty good idea what we're going to do in the regular season, how we're going to use them. One of the conversations, I think the last one, last week, kind of like mapped out. I think teammates approached Nate about how we do things in spring training, how we're going to take care of them, and we're going to be in good shape, and that's where, you know, roster flexibility and versatility comes into play. I mean, for how great they were, Hector and BJ, they were the saviors of the season because we were able to use them in different situations, different spots, and they actually saved the rotation. So nothing is going to change. Spring training is going to be probably shorter for them as far as like usage, but they're going to be prepared for Seattle. So looking forward to that.
Stephanie Epstein from Sports Illustrated. For Dave and Nathan both, given how slowly the free agent market has moved over the last couple of years, how much on both sides was time a factor? How important was it to both of you to get this done early?
Well, I'll start from mine. You prefer always to do something quicker if you can, but you also realize that that's not always possible. And sometimes patience has to pay off. But if it was our preference, you'd prefer to move it along, because if you're in a spot that, if it's not going to work, sometimes you have to look at your other choices. So quicker the better, but not always the case. Got yours.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the deal's there and sometimes it's not. You know, for me, it was there, and I mean, it was a no-brainer for me to come back here. So on my part, I felt like it was an easy decision to come over here, and you know, I felt like my agency did a great job, and knowing when it was the right time.
Evan, right over here.
Evan Drellick, NBC Sports Boston. For Nate and Dave, Nate first, you're pretty unique after 2 surgeries. You know, why do you think you've been able to be as effective and stay as healthy as you've been? And for Dave, what gives you the confidence that he'll be able to stay healthy over the course of 4 years?
I mean, I feel like I've learned a lot from my surgeries. You know, I work extremely hard trying to come back from it, and I put all my trust and faith, you know, in God's hands, and also the fact, that we have such an elite training staff. They know what they're doing, and I trust them. And I think one of the biggest things I've learned over the time is just telling them if I feel something. In the past, if I feel a little soreness, like I'll just keep trying to throw through it, and then it kind of develops into something else. But I feel like I can trust our training staff, and that had a big role in me coming back over here as well. And anytime now that I feel anything, I tell them, and we start the the rehab or the treatment for it. And then if it gets worse, then we take that route. But I feel like we've been able to work through a lot of different things and stay healthy.
Well, taking that as the first part of it, our medical staff and Nathan's work ethic and communication factors, his hard work and how strong he is. But in addition to that, our medical staff, our doctors, we reviewed all the medical records, had additional tests done, some of it right after the season. And so with the way our medical personnel felt, our doctors, that looking at all the past surgical history, felt very comfortable to go to this length of contract. Now, we always realize there's a risk with any pitcher that you take, any player, but they checked very thoroughly and felt comfortable with the length.
Nate, obviously you have a senior type staff, but when you get to spring training, you know that there are younger guys always looking. Don Mattingly said something earlier today. He said he would have bet on you years ago because of the way you went out and approached the work part of this. How aware are you now that guys down in camps, backfields, maybe have an understanding and they are watching you out of the corner of their eye to try to figure out how do I get my work done?
Yeah, and I feel like that's part of it. You can't take for granted that every day that you get to put on that big league jersey and you're representing the Red Sox on your chest, and you always want to go out there and do a good job and work hard. They don't want to see you walking around and kind of nonchalanting it out there, and you never know who's watching it. It could be the minor league guys, or it could be a kid in the stands who's coming out there to watch spring training, and you want to set a good example not only for them but for the community as well.
Billy Witz with the New York Times. Nate, I was just wondering if you can go back to like 2016, and you had, when you got hurt, it was just a couple months before you were going to hit free agency. When that happened, did you think that a contract like this was, even going to be possible for you?
Yeah, at that time, it was my free agent year, and all I had to do was finish the season strong, and I ended up getting hurt, and it was actually against the Red Sox, and I didn't think that it wouldn't be possible. I knew it was just going to be a little bit longer, delayed in the process. But again, I feel like I trust in God, and I feel like everything He does for us, He has a plan for us, and I just have to, be patient and keep working hard, and I feel like it'll come, and I feel like it has.
Are there any further questions? That concludes today's press conference. Thank you, everyone.
Good job. Thank you. Way to go. Appreciate it. Thank you.